with the 11th Aviation Group in Vietnam, is attached to the 1st Cavalry.
What was your dates of service in Vietnam, sir?
I served 1st of December 69 to the 10th of November 70.
Oh, that's it. And is there any stories in particular that might stand out to you that about your time in Vietnam, sir?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of stories. One thing I'd like to make clear is I never really had any really bad experiences. But some of the stories I do remember, I was on a Special Forces camp. My job was a pathfinder. I was being attached to the 1st Cav. They used us as air traffic controllers. I was on a Special Forces camp with about 10 American Special Forces, and the rest were Cambodian mercenaries. And the men and the wives and the children all lived in that little, it was on the top of a hill, and below that hill was a fixed landing strip, paved, and there's a little river running by. But these Cambodian kids, 7, 8, maybe younger too, would always hang around us, the pathfinders. We had our radios, we had to talk to air traffic. We talked to the Air Force jets when they came in. They never landed there, but they had to do some bombing or strafing or whatever. But these young kids would hang around us, and at that time one of the popular songs was by Don Ho, Tiny Bubbles. And so with a lot of time, even though these kids didn't speak English well, they could learn the phrases. And so I'd sing Tiny Bubbles in the wine, and they'd follow it. And that was always kind of a special, fun time for me. We would go down in the river and swim in that river. It was about waist deep. And some of these kids would come up with us. And by that time, I always thought I'd never do something like that, because we were pretty vulnerable at that point. But it just didn't seem like, we just went ahead and swam anyway. So.
Could you describe what the Pathfinder's job is for someone who might not know what that is?
Sure. We're in the Army. They're trained because of what happened in World War II when they dropped the paratroopers. They were scattered all over the place. So we were trained so that they would be dropped within a specific area. So we were taught to talk to the aircraft, what altitude they should come at, how many people could jump per pass, or whatever they were dropping per pass. One of my jobs in Vietnam was, if a helicopter had to come in, like one night at a fire base, they had to come in. Well, they can't land outside the perimeter because they have these claymore mines, and the static electricity could set those claymore off, so they had to come in the perimeter. Well, there's all these aerial antennas, all these obstructions. So it's our job to get them in there safely. So we know how to put landing lights down. And this pilot was saying, I said, we have a T for you to land. He said, refresh my memory on how I was supposed to do this. So I told him how he was supposed to do that. And when he left, he thanked us really profusely, because that's all he could see, because the dust came up so bad. All he could see was the glow of the lamps.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How do you feel that the state did with this sponsored event that they put on for the veterans?
Oh, I think it's really great. I've only made it today. This is my first day here. I came here this morning. Yeah, it's a real special. It's something, I don't know how the other World War veterans really had it, but I know, we came back individually and we just went home, and there was no thanks. Even when I got home, there's nobody in our circle of people that we knew. Nobody said thank you or welcome home, or nobody even thought of it, I don't think, for some reason. So this has been a special time.
Do you think that maybe this is helping with the healing process of some of the veterans that may be out here, or do you think that this is something like attending these type of events would be healing in a way to veterans who might still be struggling with something like that?
Oh, I'm sure it's healing in a lot of respects. It has to make a person feel better that this program, all the effort that went into it, that people would say thank you. I mean, even when I first walked in the convention center, and I was greeted by a lady there, and she said, "Welcome home." Yeah, it was perfect. I mean,
could you describe to the folks, I guess, if what emotions, I guess, were running through your mind when you said that, you know, even your group of friends in that circle, you know, might have forgot or you weren't thinking about that when it was real to you. How did that play, sir?
I'm not sure I understand what you're saying. Asking.
So how did it feel, you know, to you it was real leaving Vietnam and being in Vietnam? The mentality, like you said, that maybe they were thinking about it here, or when you came home there was not your friends, like you said, your circle, no one was saying thank you, or how did that play out for you, sir? How did that on your mind?
Well, not well. Yeah, it's always kind of a little sore spot. Because of that, a lot of times when I see a veteran at a restaurant or something, I've actually paid for their meal or something and said thank you. Because I know that's what I would have liked to have done to me, you know, when I was in the service. Instead of just kind of, you know, you weren't really proud to be, back then, to be, you weren't, it's such a negative attitude about Vietnam and the country at that time. So.
Did you have a question, Greg?
I was curious. You joined the service in '69. Did I hear you say?
I was actually drafted in '69.
And then that was a little bit later when some of the whole country had started to express their views about Vietnam. How did that affect you when you entered the service?
Well, you know, I don't really think it bothered me too much right then because we're just too busy with training and whatever. I was just too busy with it.
When you were overseas, what did you learn about how America was reacting?
I didn't. I didn't learn nothing about that. It was probably before I went over there.
I'm sorry, when you arrived in Vietnam, sir?
No. I just looked at those people as ignorant, really. The ones that really were radical about against the Vietnam, yeah, because you know, calling people baby killers, you know, even as lately, within the last 3 years, somebody found out that I was a Vietnam vet, and they said, "Oh, so you're a bloodletter," and that really made my blood boil right there. Someone had to stop me from saying more.
Yeah, I completely understand that. That's. Do you guys have anything that you might want to ask, or any other questions that come to mind?
I'm always just curious of what it was like those first few days there going, and you're in a whole different world.
Yeah, it's a whole different world, for sure. I flew over there in American Airlines, all full of GIs. We left California. We landed in Guam, landed in the Philippines, then we landed in Bien Hoa, South Vietnam. It was night. And the pilot, as we got to Bien Hoa, said, "If you look down, you'll see flares going off." And I said, "What in the world? Are they in a combat? You know, are they battling right now?" So I was kind of apprehensive already when we landed. And then when we landed, the first thing that struck me as I got to the door to step outside was the heat and the humid heat and the stench. It took a while to adapt to the heat. But if you notice any pictures in there, you see a lot of GIs didn't even wear a shirt because of the heat.
That's one thing that we've been hearing is with the first impressions was the heat and the humidity right off the bat.
Yeah.
Would you say that going into this, like within the first couple days, staying on that you were mentally prepared for stepping into, you know, did you have any like second thoughts when you first got there about?
Oh, sure, sure. When you get to Benoit, you process in the country. The Army processes you in. Well, at the same time, people are processing out. So you're meeting these people who have been there for a year. So my question was, I was asking, you know, how's the life expectancy of the Pathfinder, which I was, you know, how they do? And I talked to one person, said, you know, there's not very many that survive. And then another person says, hey, you got it made. So what do you know? What are you supposed to believe? But they try to re-enlist you for 3 years. You could get a rear job. You could be in a motor pool or something. But I already had so much time. But training almost a year in already, I wasn't about to give that up. So I took my chances on, you know, the guy who said it's going to be pretty easy for you.
Worked out good. Worked out good in your favor.
It worked out good, yes.
Interesting.
Well, I don't know. This is one of the bigger shots I had blowing up.
Sorry, make sure I'm not in the way of that.
What's the writing there? Oh, just the story that you're.
Yeah, just tell me that I spent a month at this fire base, and this is the river I was talking about where we were swimming in, and the hill where the fire base was would be to my front, and this is where all the Cambodian missionaries were. But at this particular time, we were waiting to leave, and the helicopters were all sitting there, and there was infantry folks that you can't see here in this picture, all waiting for the time to get on the board of the helicopters and leave, to go somewhere where you never know where you're going to go.
How did that feel? You know, I mean, to me, I don't know. I had some of those missions where they don't tell you where you're going. There's just that build up. You know, how do you deal with that? You know, just
you deal with it. Yeah, don't even think about it. Interesting thing about the Pathfinders here, where how we were used, is if there's going to build a fire base someplace, we would be in with the first initial set of grunts, infantry, and then we start talking to helicopter traffic, direct them in, tell them to land, where to put their load, give them the artillery when the artillery got going, to keep away from the artillery, and then when they tore down the fire base, usually they took everything out again, and so we were sometimes 2 or 3, 4 of us just left, waiting for a helicopter to come. So that was always the apprehensive part, too. But fortunately, nothing ever happened. So.